What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over here this week, but before I get to the headline story, I briefly want to cover another little Subaru story very quickly. So, the new WRX is finally being fully revealed next week. We have one more little report here that might give us a hint as far as what kind of horsepower we can expect out of the new WRX next week. So, the Levorg wagon that Japan and Australia get, we all wished we got it here in the States as a WRX wagon or something. It sounds like Australia might actually get a WRX wagon with the Levorg here, because in previous generations they did have like the WRX powertrain in the Levorg, but now according to Australian website Car Expert, they seem to be pretty confident that the more powerful new WRX engine will also be showing up in the Levorg here. And so the interesting tidbit for us fans here in the States of the WRX is that they're claiming it will be the 2.4 liter Ascent motor, which is what we've been hearing with all these rumors for the past few years, honestly. But they have a horsepower number here. They claim it'll be doing 286 horsepower, at least in Australia, with that motor, which would be a nice improvement. Usually it makes 260 horsepower in the Ascent and every other Subaru that runs it. So if it does get 286 here, that's going to be a nice little bump over what, again, you get in the current WRX of, 268 horsepower. Now you just switch it around to 286. And so I think that'd be a nice, good amount of horsepower for the new WRX and a nice little bump. So we'll have to see. Thankfully, we only have one more week to wait, and we'll have all of our questions answered, hopefully. But interesting to hear that. But for that official US Subaru news here they announced this week, the 2022 Forester, it gets a refresh here this week along with the Wilderness Edition. So they're doing all these Wilderness Editions. I'm sure this won't be the last one either. But so all 2022 Foresters, as you can see, get revised styling with new headlights, bumpers, other small changes. Like there's even new gesture controls for adjusting the climate control for added convenience, they say. Anyone that's used gesture controls has known that they are not more convenient. Usually they don't work very well. It uses the same facial recognition software that Subaru has had for safety stuff in the past, and so now they're going to extend it out to gesture stuff. I don't know, they should have seen how it didn't work out great for BMW and Mercedes and stuff, but they're trying it. We'll see how that works. Anyway, as far as that Wilderness Edition here, unfortunately it doesn't get the turbo motor like the Outback version. It just runs the same old 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine as other Foresters, but otherwise it gets very similar enhancements to the Outback Wilderness. So I actually got to see it in person a couple weeks back whenever I was driving the BRZ. They rolled a couple of these out for us to check out ahead of time, and it looks really great in this exclusive geyser blue color and gets the more rugged looks along with suspension and tire upgrades. The lift is only 1/2 inch though over a regular Forester, but Subaru points out that the Forester already has some of the best ground clearance in this class, but it's now 9.2 inches of ground clearance in the Wilderness version. It also gets longer coil springs and revised shocks, along with running Yokohama Geolandar tires with white lettering. I do like the white lettering. I think that's a really cool touch. It combines all that with unique bumpers for the Wilderness as well, and those unique bumpers help with all those other parts to improve the approach, departure, and breakover angles. So it is going to be more capable off-road for all those reasons as well. And then despite not getting any extra power, Subaru has tried to help people out a little bit here. So they had a few little mechanical changes to improve performance slightly. So it does get the 411 diff ratio in the rear instead of the regular 270 diff that the Foresters run, and so make it a little bit quicker. The CVT's manual mode also has lower ratios to help with low speed torque. So if you go into manual mode, I mean, it's kind of sad though. You have to go and force it into a manual mode in order to actually get the grunt that you might need, because I think the real thing about the turbo stuff is, especially if you're up in the mountains, that's where turbo motors really thrive. And that's the Subaru thing, is turbo motors. That's what, one of the things that has made Subaru great. And whenever you're loading up, one of these things with tons of gear, tons of people, and then you're up in the mountains, I mean, it's not going to have much power. I don't know how many people are actually going to take this over just getting the Outback Wilderness, since it's going to be so much better with its turbo engine. And it's only, I think, about $3,000 more expensive for the Outback over the Forester. So, I don't know. I think they really kind of missed the mark not putting the turbo motor in here myself. But anyway, other improvements here mechanically are because they are anticipating people working this engine harder because of, the type of use they're expecting with these. They also added some coolers here. So there's an external engine oil cooler now, there's a transmission cooler, and a rear diff oil temp sensor. And so these additions allow it to bump the tow capacity to 3,000 pounds now. So, I mean, then you're really struggling. If you have this thing loaded up with people, gear, and then you're towing up to 3,000 pounds with 182 horsepower, good luck. It's not going to be a great experience. But anyway, it'll do it. Also, the roof rack has been revised too, and now can support 220 pounds while moving or 800 pounds when parked. So you can put larger roof tents on the roof rack there, which is a cool touch. And so that's nice. There's also a front skid plate to help protect the underbody and a unique X mode with 2 different drive modes. The interior, of course, gets copper touches like you see on the outside, and also the Star Text upholstery there. And it also builds onto the premium trim level. So this is very much a mid-grade kind of trim for the Forester. There still is the Limited and the Touring, which are going to be nicer. Pricing wise, it's priced in between the Limited and the Touring, but you get less equipment than you get in the Limited, but you get all the other stuff of the Wilderness. But anyway, so the Wilderness is going to be starting at $33,945. So $34,000 basically. And the regular Forester's base price has also risen $475 as well, now starting at $26,320. So interesting to see that. Subaru has also teased the Solterra EV again here this week, and they revealed it's going to be on sale by the middle of 2022. And so like the previous teasers that have already been revealed, the styling looks very similar to the Toyota version, the BZ4X, and that also includes the interior, which we now see on the Subaru for the first time. It's very interesting. I mean, I got to actually check out the interior and the BZ4X in person. It's cool. I think it's going to be, futuristic without, it's not going to be quite as impressive as stuff like a Mach-E or something already. Because, I mean, it's not quite as large for the screen sizes, and everything's capacitive touch. It basically is just like the new Tucson interior on steroids as far as the center stack goes, in my impression of it. But anyway, so that's the interior. The exterior, still looks like it's going to be pretty cool, though. I do like how Subaru has put their unique spin on the taillights there in the back and stuff. We'll have to see how that front end shakes out, though. It looks like it's going to be a lot of just black plastic in the front there, but we'll have to see. They also revealed it's going to have all-wheel drive as standard, which isn't too much of a surprise, but, for anyone that was wondering if maybe there'd be like a long-range front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive version, not the case. They're going to stick with all-wheel drive, at least with the Subaru version. I think Toyota probably will as well. But anyway, they also say it'll have advanced safety technology, but they didn't get any specifics as far as, what exactly that means. But anyway, yeah, so I'm sure they'll continue to tease this out little by little here. Maybe we'll get a reveal towards the end of this year or something. We'll have to wait and see. But interesting to see that. Lotus already has some teasers that they posted a couple months back, kind of giving us some details about their future cars a little bit and their plans and everything. So now we have a new teaser image here and a little more information about what models are coming exactly. So, beyond the awesome Emira that I already covered several weeks ago whenever they revealed that, and they said that was their last gas-powered car, all these other models are going to be fully electric, I'm talking about here, and only one of the 4 new models is going to be a sports car. So, they should all be coming to the U.S., and the first vehicle to come is going to be an SUV, currently called the Type 132 internally. All these names will change, but that one's called the 132. It'll arrive next year, actually, they're claiming, so pretty quick. It's going to be coming really soon. And then they also are going to have a 4-door coupe-like sedan that they're currently referring to as the Type 133. That'll be arriving in 2023, and it's going to be followed by another SUV currently called the Type 134 in 2025. And then the new sports car in the back is, you guessed it, called the Type 135, and that will be arriving around 2026, they're saying, which is presumably to help with the Emira's gradual phase out, because if the Emira is going to be coming out next year for 2022, obviously it's probably going to live longer than 4 years, but I think it's going to be one of those things like everyone else is kind of going to be doing, where they're going to sell gas stuff alongside the electric, so you'll have an electric sports car to choose from in 2026 from Lotus, as well as the Emira still, which will probably live on close to 2030. before that dies off. But so that's all interesting. They also give some more interesting details here. They'll be all on a new modular EV platform that can handle battery packs from 92 kilowatt hours to 120 kilowatt hours, and it'll supposedly be able to do 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. And so all very, very quick. Also, while Lotus will still be based in England, and they're going to be doing all the sports car development in England too, but they announced that their new technology center that's going to be developing the batteries, electric motors, and other EV parts will actually be based in Wuhan, China. And the sports car development, that's firmly still going to be happening in the UK. So I guess they get the parts from China and they'll develop them there in the UK. They're also building a factory in Wuhan to build the 4-door models. So those 2 SUVs and the sedan, those will actually be built in China. And that factory is actually going to be up and running before the end of this year. So it sounds like it'll be coming online quick enough to actually be able to start producing those SUVs sometime next year. And they say that it will actually have the capacity to build 150,000 cars per year, which is very ambitious for Lotus. That is, I mean, I guess it's good they have the capacity, and the sky's the limit with sales there. But we'll see if they ever even get half of that. But anyway, yeah, seems like a pretty potent plan. I mean, of course, the whole Chinese thing's going to upset, traditional Lotus fans, especially that, want everything to be done in the UK. But, now with Lotus being owned by Geely and all that, I think that this makes sense, especially if they're going to be marketing them a lot in China and stuff as well. And it's good that at least the sports cars, will continue to be developed in the UK, and, hopefully that'll help soften the blow there, and the other stuff will hopefully be pretty cool as well. And so anyway, interesting to see that. Mercedes this week has revealed their first e-performance model here, the AMG GT 63 SE Performance. And so we were all wrong about the 73 number for the naming speculation there. But the 63 name actually kind of makes sense now, considering this still uses the same engine and setup as the AMG GT 63 4-door, but then they add on the e-performance motor, and so they add on the e-performance name to the back of the name, and then it kind of all makes sense. So anyway, as far as the numbers, they're all very, very impressive here for this thing. So it does 831 horsepower and more than 1,033 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 takes just 2.9 seconds. 0 to 125 miles per hour happens in under 10 seconds, and it'll top out at 197 miles per hour. It runs the twin-turbo 4-liter V8 like the regular 63, but then adds a 201 horsepower electric motor onto the rear axle, and that rear axle, it drives the back end directly, but it also can send power forward and has a 2-speed transmission to it, which I think engages at like 85 or some very high speed. Then the gas engine can also send power to both the front and the back with a traditional prop shaft, and everything with the gas side seems to be pretty traditional and untouched from a regular GT63. So I'm not sure how everything's crisscrossing and you have power going to all 4 wheels, but it's coming from 2 different sources. Seems very complicated, and they, I'm sure, have ways of explaining all that, but it's kind of over my head. So I'll just kind of water it down here and say that, yeah, it can blend all that power together seamlessly. And so sounds very impressive. It also still runs the usual 9-speed AMG automatic transmission. So you have 1 transmission for the gas engine, 1 for the electric motor, and they all work together somehow. It sounds like a lot for those computers to manage, though. This thing must have a supercomputer under the hood to sort all this stuff out. And then on top of that, it also uses electric turbochargers to kill off any lag from the turbos, which I would assume the electric motors could fill in the gap for those turbos if there was any lag. There's really not much in an AMG GT63. I drove one, and it's insane, and never once felt like it was laggy or anything like that. But you'll have electric turbos as well, plus the electric motor to all help fill in any little millisecond of turbo lag. So that's kind of crazy. It also is a plug-in hybrid, but clearly electric driving range wasn't this car's focus. It only has a 6.1 kilowatt hour battery and can only do 7 miles of range on the generous European testing cycle, meaning once the EPA gets their hands on it, I'd be surprised if it even does 5 miles of range. It might be 4. So yeah, we'll have to see what the US details are once they announce all that stuff for us. All this information and the numbers I've been quoting have all all been the European numbers, so we'll have to see. But anyway, it's going to be going on sale next year, so cool to see that. And just last week I talked about, Range Rover. They're doing the SVR Ultimate Edition with a very cool blue color that they're doing on those. This week they have another special edition. Land Rover has announced the Defender V8 Bond Edition. I'm a huge Bond fan, so this one is a little more exciting in my opinion. It's inspired by the Defenders in the new No Time to Die movie, and gets a blacked out look here, xenon blue brake calipers, and unique 007 badging inside and out, along with 007 puddle lamps. It's only available on the 4-door 110 body styles with the V8, and only 300 of them will be made, and they'll be priced at $114,600, which is a little bit of a premium over a regular Defender. So it's like, you're paying a premium for a blacked out Defender with 007 badges. But hey, I mean, they'll probably at least be able to sell the 300, and so it's still cool that they're doing that, and yeah, awesome to see that. Ford also has their own special edition they announced this week, debuting just in time for Halloween. This bright orange Ford Ranger for 2022 is the Splash Appearance Package. So we just heard a few weeks back about them trademarking the Splash name. We were wondering what they're going to use it for. Now we know. So yeah, this gets this orange paint color along with black accents on the outside and orange accents on the inside. The package costs $1,495, and they'll start arriving around the end of next year. But then after this one shows up, Ford will be doing Splash limited editions every few months in different exclusive paint colors that they'll only make a few hundred of. So this just sounds like they're trying to use up Ranger parts before the next gen Ranger comes next year, and so it's like, okay, well, maybe we can get a few people if we offer it in orange, and then we can clear out a few more parts if we offer it in this other crazy color. And, just trying to, clear out their backlog of, parts, I guess, that they don't want to go to waste or whatever from their suppliers. And so they got to try and push out as many of these Rangers and make them interesting before the actual new Ranger comes that everyone's actually going to want. So interesting to see that. But I think it's a fun little package there. I like the graphics on the side. Anything that's kind of retro inspired, is always interesting to me. So cool to see that. For some unofficial Ford news this week, Automotive News is again reporting a similar thing as they did earlier this year, where they're saying the Ford Edge and Lincoln Nautilus are going to be going away in 2023. That's supposedly the end date. I don't think anyone's going to be super upset about the Edge going away. It's not like it's like anyone's favorite Ford or anything. But their justification here in the Automotive News article is they claim the Explorer starts at basically the same price. I think it's like a couple $100 more, and that's it. And also the two-row SUV lineup at Ford is pretty crowded, although that isn't going to be stopping Ford from making more two-row crossover SUVs. According to the report, the plant that builds the Edge and the Nautilus will be turned into an EV factory that'll build several different EVs for Ford and Lincoln, including small and mid-sized Lincoln EV crossovers, and then one of which they said still might end up being called the Nautilus. It is a really cool name, so I wouldn't blame Lincoln for trying to switch that name over to some electric vehicle in the future. But so they're saying the Nautilus name technically might not die, but the actual Nautilus that we currently know probably will. They also claim an electric version of the Explorer and the Aviator will be debuting next year, actually, and will be going on sale in 2023 too. So that's kind of a little bit of a surprise there. I didn't think we'd get an electric Explorer that soon. But, I mean, Ford's going full steam ahead here with all the electric stuff, and it's coming quick. So I'm not sure, if they're going to use a variation of the F-150, Lightning platform, or if it's going to use some of the Mach-E stuff or something totally new. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to see that. Audi has also revealed another concept car this week. This one's called the GrandSphere. And unlike the cool coupe that we saw a few weeks ago, this one is a more conventional sedan. And while the front isn't too radical, the back looks awesome with that fastback shape that is pretty radical looking. I think that actually looks really cool. They kind of wanted to reinvent the sedan, they said, in a way, while still retaining some of the more traditional elements of a sedan. And so, of course, the concept is electric and theoretically autonomous too, so that's why there's pictures of it without a steering wheel and stuff. That's all just, cool show car stuff. That's not actually going to happen anytime soon. But everyone likes to pretend like it is, and so they're doing this kind of stuff just for these show cars. But anyway, their idea with this car was, they said, to make it like a private jet for the road as far as the comfort and the, inspiration and stuff. So you have this lounge-like interior. It's all very cool. They also said it didn't preview any specific production car that's coming down the road, but it's just one of these things where you're likely to see many of these styling elements in future Audi Audis down the road. So maybe it's the headlights or the taillights or the way they're going to do the grille there in the future, maybe for the new A6 or something. We'll have to see, how it all plays out. But anyway, a very cool concept nonetheless, and I really hope they actually do build something with a cool back end like that. That would be really sweet. So cool to see that. And then the last news story this week here is that Ram has announced that the 2022 Rams, the entire truck lineup here, will be getting the Uconnect 5 infotainment screen, which is really a nice improvement. It's going to be, running on that large 12-inch touchscreen, even, in the Ram 1500s and 2500s and stuff. And it can even do full screen Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is pretty sweet. I think that might be one of the largest full screen smartphone integrations that's out there. That's going to be pretty sweet to have that whole thing be CarPlay. Is going to be wild. It'll be fun to try out. And they also now with the Uconnect 5, it does wireless smartphone integration, so you don't have to even plug in your phone anymore. Just hop in the vehicle, it automatically connects wirelessly, and then you have that. So that's a nice huge improvement too. The software is also faster, has the new design along with other various improvements, like there's off-road pages and stuff like that, that they've improved with this new version of the software. And they didn't say when this is going to be arriving, but I'm assuming it's coming on all 2022 Rams. So whenever those start to arrive, you can assume it's going to have that new software in it, but I'm not sure exactly when those are arriving at dealers, but it should be relatively soon here. Usually the new model year kind of starts rolling in traditionally, September here. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, cool to see that. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.